Okay.
This is Jason and Metalchondria here with Julien Deyres of Gorod. Fun fact, the last time I saw you guys play was 3 years ago in LA with the Veil and Knock tour before the world changed, a lot's happened
Absolutely, yeah.
since then. I like to ask just how you guys have been doing. How have you guys been the past few years without playing anything? Has it just the band been maybe just going, to like either job they've done or other projects? What have you guys been doing for the past few years to just kind of stay busy, I guess?
So yeah, the past few years were kind of weird, I would say at least, yeah,
A
sure.
little bit.
And the thing is that it also depends on our activities. But personally, I'm involved in everything that what is about culture. So my main activities are being a musician, so mostly live musician, and also I'm actually a tour guide. So I'm working in tourism, in international tourism as well. So kind of. So it means that my entire life completely disappeared from one day to another. And had to find other options. And also, most of the band members who are quite involved in culture as well. So there was a major change for many things. And also the thing of just about Gorod, I mean, all of us are really into live music, live performance. This is our thing. We are not really that much. I know that our music genre is pretty nerdy, I would say, because yeah, a lot of technical stuff. So a lot of it can be a lot of computer music, but in fact not, because we are way more connected to live performance. And for us, it's like when there is no show schedule, it makes no sense to play music together or to make new stuff. So the thing is that the lockdown started right after a tour. So in the end, we've been lucky because we've been touring for a previous album and many albums, just released albums right before the lockdown and that stuff. But the lockdown was not the end of the promotion of our album. We were supposed to tour in Europe to have several shows and festival there. Then it was done. And then there was what are we gonna do? So to be honest, I think we lost a bit of time because we were also lost about future plans. We didn't know exactly what to do. And for us, there was no sense to make new music, to make a new album without any projects of playing, of performing live. So I don't mean that we've been waiting for the lights to go back, but it was kind of, let's say, a black hole in our musician existence. And only when everything started to get back to life, I would say when shows started to be rescheduled, then we decided to make new songs and then a new album. So that period was not good for us at all, I would say.
Yeah, for everyone, it was a big change for everybody. I'm sorry for what you guys maybe had to deal with emotionally and just, aesthetically, musically and everything, but I'm glad it, got better eventually. Um, so with the three new songs for the Orb that have been released since last year, so when those songs were those songs made pretty quickly when you realized things were kind of coming back, or was it harder to start writing new material since everything changed?
Actually, we are always working the same way with Gorod since the beginning. I mean, there is one main composer, which is Mathieu. So Mathieu is our main guitar player. So he's the mastermind of the band. And everything starts the same way. Like he's creating the overall music. And this is a very guitaristic music. Everything is based on the guitar. So it's made that way. So usually he's composing on his own, like he's writing a drum track. So a drum machine like a superior drummer or else on it, and then composing riffs and also writing harmonies in it. And often it starts like this. So there is a drum there's the drum track which was recorded, not recorded, but yeah, composed on it, and two guitars, and that's it. And this is then we'd have to try to deal with it. But some of the songs were composed songs, if we can call it a song. Some of projects existed for a while, and some other were composed just like last minutes. So this time it took us let's say why because we started to make new material like pretty long ago, right after the lockdown, but we lost motivation in making it. And I would say, yeah, the process this time was more, yeah, it was, I mean, from the beginning to the end, it was made in a longer period of time than usual. So there was no rush to make this new album. But this is why also we released singles because first of all, want to make a brand new album because, as I mentioned before, it made no sense for us because there was no project of touring. So first of all, say let's start to make singles and see what happens. And this is exactly in that way that they popped up. And then afterwards, we decided to make finally an album and mix it together and make it coherent, more or less.
Since the album, the three songs it was about, I mean, time right now is just so difficult to explain. Those three songs were released last year, I think March, July, September, I think. So it's
Yeah.
been almost a year for Victory, the first single to come out. How do you feel about hearing the material a year later without, with the album coming out in April? But what did it feel like a year after hearing these songs? Did they Was it exactly the way you wanted to write it? Like you said some of the stuff was older, but
Yeah.
like what was it like reflecting a year, releasing these, still not quite able to play just yet, but just a reflection on, about a year since the first single came out, and like what do you think about the material and the direction that it sounds like the orb is going to be played as?
The thing is that I mentioned before, like not most of the material, but yeah, I can see that. Like there were already like 7 or 8 projects that was already been starting, like at that time, like after the lockdown and everything. So Victory was compared to some other songs was pretty new in the end because it was composed afterwards. And this was one of the first time, for instance, because I'm first of all I was not a singer first. I'm a guitar player as well, so there are a lot of guitar players in that band in the end. And this is one of the first time I just composed a riff and I gave it to
Oh,
Matthew and he made it. So this is how it was composed Victory. Like he had already composed something that was written and I say, okay, for the next one, then I just got an idea. Said, okay, just yeah, send you a couple of notes. Send him a tab, and then he made this. So in the end, that was pretty refreshing. This way of composing, but now it's getting old. But compared to that's
yeah.
there. That's on the period of time and they spread out more than 2 years to make the whole thing. And so some of the songs, I guess that if I'm not wrong, like the next single that's going to be released on the 1st of March was composed a bit earlier than Victory.
Okay.
So, but I wrote the lyrics really later on because I needed more time to make it. So, because there was more emergency to make it because connected what was happening for real. And usually, we just make music as an art and not really involved in a political way in the time we are living right now, like in the present. What is the present? What is happening now with wars, COVID, and stuff? And since for the first time with the last composition, I personally started to feel like, okay, I have the opportunity to be read, to be reread, because when a song is composed or when this is on the music, this is different, like a discussion with friends at the pub. Then your message can be taken not more seriously, but it's written, it's carved in a stone, and then
Yeah.
it exists for real. So I say, okay, let's try to be a bit more direct and a bit less dreamlike than I used to be, like because I've used to take works like a university exercise as an art historian as I am. But yeah, now this time I want you to feel like I'm talking with a friend and talking with someone I know or with someone I love that is living on the other side of the planet. And I have this to tell you, and this is it. And so this was a major change. And then the thing was to adapt this discourse to the older song that will be the new one. So this is a big construction that started now. Also, there was one song that was composed right before the drum takes, just right before the recording session. So yeah, it was a pretty long period of time this time. So we had
And
time to think and to re-question everything also.
when I'm just really quick on the and Victory, I'm kind of curious because the song starts off like quite fast, and the band is, I'd say, pretty fast generally. But that
Yeah,
counterpoint in the beginning, I think there's a riff in the riff around a minute. It's I'm going to sing it very poorly. It's only for like a bar and a half. It's that no 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 no. It's like weird. It's that weird, like I think right before the next bridge is that no 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 no, that weird.
yeah,
It's weird. And I thought I haven't heard the band. I haven't heard Matthew or whoever do that. Did you write that
yeah,
riff or was that Matt's riff?
yeah.
That was your riff?
A bit. Yeah, this is a combination between mine. I wrote the first one
Yeah.
The very
Okay.
first one, this time,
Yeah.
that's just the melody I wrote, and also the tapping. The taping in the middle. This is the 11th 8 structure. I like doing this kind of stuff, so I just wrote it that way. But he added a lot of harmony, melodies, and everything. So he took just the small ideas and he made something big with just two very small ideas, two very small part of riffs. But yeah, the overall things comes from from the truth. It took little things and make okay. Let's make an entire riff with like just two notes, or this is what it did.
It's
So
always interesting.
this is why it sounds weird. It sounds a bit more, yeah, strange compared to what it used to be. And there is also another song like "Walls of Shades" is also the same. This is actually the oldest song of all of it because it's the only one that was composed during the lockdown. And I started to write. I remember I was just playing on my guitar during the lockdown. I was getting bored and everything. Though, so this is when I started to write the lyrics as well. And I didn't want to send the riff to Matt and just say, okay, I just send you the chord grid. And I send him chords, and he understood it. He understood it a completely different way that I wrote it. But yeah, that's it. But usually he hates this kind of chords. He said me like using suspended 2, suspended 4, 6 chords. That's not his thing. He's really into third, into third. That's not his typical way to make melodies. And he, even like last week when we saw it, I mean, for me that was weird to compose that way. So he's been a bit challenged for this one. So this is why it sounds a bit different because yeah, I started to integrate some small idea and but this is still Matthew who made this the whole thing no matter what. I didn't compose anything on it, just gave him ideas like to challenge himself and get out of his comfort zone. So this is what happened.
Change is good, I'd say.
Time to
And
time, yeah.
also too, the most interesting song for me was the title track with that
Mm.
with that intro, and then the song it's a very slow mid pace song, and like the way you do your vocal patterns, like just kind of storytelling it, and and if I showed someone that song like maybe a new or maybe a mid gorod fan, they'd be like, that doesn't sound like the band. I thought it was a very interesting change of pace. Talk to me about how that song was written and made because I find it pretty like I think live. I think it would really go well live. A very head banging,
Mm.
head nodding, like hypnotizing kind of feel I get from it.
So what was funny, remember, because yeah, Mathieu, he is really the nerdy guy of the band. So when he's composing music himself, he's just sending us files on the Google Drive, and then we upload it. And there was this song, and I remember the working title was Black Hole. So in French, Trou Noir. That was
Okay.
his name. And often I like to make jokes because I like to just retake this title because I know that he doesn't think when he's giving these names. He just type it. This was the idea at the moment. And there is the word black hole in the lyrics, actually.
Mhm.
We'll be on the sowing of branch before long before a black hole swallows the ore. So I was like, okay, I'm thinking about the black hole because and I was listening to it. For me, that song was just a transition. I didn't see it as a song. I was like, okay, this is a song, and my drummer told us that this will be the new hit of the next album. I was like, wow, really? That song? And I found that was an interesting challenge because yeah, for him, that was his opinion because finally there was no blast beats and on this song we can develop our other things and tell me that you can put more clean singing on it, you don't have to growl on it, that doesn't make sense for the one. So and as we wanted to change a bit or to be more open or trying to make something new because yeah, sure, we still play tech death metal but we don't want to be stuck in a genre because Gorod has always been like this, always been experimenting and don't want to play exactly the same thing, even with there's the same basic, I would say, at the end. But on this one, they say, okay, this is gonna be the hit. I was like, okay, let's make it the title track, even if it's completely different from the rest of the album. So, and also, this is a bit provocative to do that way, and we are pretty into provocation. We are French, so this is a culture for us.
I know you guys have some
The
pretty damn good
testing,
bands over there, I got to say.
yeah. And so I took that challenge very seriously. And I was like, then even I was wondering, telling myself, where is the chorus? So if it's a hit, there is the chorus. And Matthew told me, oh, that's this part. I was like, eh? that part with the digga digga digga, it doesn't sound like a chorus. And I was like, okay, I have to get rid of the guitar part. And then I was just walking on the street, and then this melody popped up directly in my head. I just was sitting at a pub, and I wrote like one shot the text of the lyrics. Okay, this fits because that was the idea that I saw the black hole, I saw the thing, the orb, the planet, because I was writing about the sun, about the memory, about things like that, and I make a combination of it, and that was made in the end super spontaneously, even if the process, I mean, the first riff was written like more than 2 years ago, and then it was just okay. When I started to write the lyrics, it took me like 1 or 2 days, or but I think yeah, some of them, most of the lyrics were written in a couple of minutes. Just I was sitting, okay, I got the idea, and then let's go, and then that's it. And we were recording it like the next week, the following week, right after that. And that was it. So yeah, the purpose here for us was like to make believe we're gonna change a lot, but actually not.
And talk to me about your vocal style, like hearing songs from Passion of Holiness, Bechdon's Curse, the way you go from the growling to the yelling, parts, the higher, like more like these anthem, like you're speaking in a microphone to this big, huge crowd for a speech.
Yeah.
I find it adds extra context, it adds extra texture to all the music and all the, the craziness, the weird riffs, the rhythms, the grooves. Just talk to me about how you developed your kind of your vocal approach. And as I guess you play as a guitar player, if certain parts of your vocals and lyrics, you think of it as a guitar player to maybe go with Matthew and Nicholas and just in general.
Absolutely. For me, I am unable to write without the vocal part, the vocal rhythm, without thinking about a guitar. Because for me, the guitar is the main thing. So yeah, I definitely think as a guitar player, not as a singer properly.
Okay.
Because for instance, I'm not a natural writer. It means it's never happened to my life that I was writing text because I wanted to write text. What I'm doing my life is composing music. I'm a composer, not a writer. I'm writing text because it has to be done. And what you mentioned, like how to make it fit in. Yeah, just to talk generally, in my opinion, genres are only here to help us to communicate about a topic, to know what we are talking about, what is this subject, and to help communication. This is only that. It's not made to define your own taste, because in the end, you can like any kind of genre, but you can hate so many things in the same genre and love it also as well. So genre is just a spot to help you to know to focus or to know where you are. And it's for according to vocals, it has been the same to me. Like I've always been singing, what we call it clean singing, so normal singing.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that since I was born. And I was singing like from French famous singers and also things. And then I discovered a bit later Dire Straits and then the Police. The Police was a revolution to me. This is still one of my favorite bands. Like I love Sting, and I also love the less famous songs like "Dead End Job" or a song like this. I guess that no one knows properly this song, but on this song is also singing normally, but he's also yelling and also screaming. And so this is where I started to develop this kind of vocals. Like, it means this is just supposed to be rock with a mixture of reggae, but there is a lot of technique that are taken than what we are using in extreme metal. And also, I've always been a soul music lover. And because I'm also teaching instruments and vocals. And what I say, where did it start it? Well, then I make them listen to I Put a Spell on You of Screaming Jay Hawkins. This is super old. This is from 1956, if I'm not wrong. And when you listen to that song carefully, I mean, the first recording, you can find four score technique, a fry scream technique. There is almost everything that we are using. This is a patchwork of what you use in extreme metal. And also at the end, it's just like, oh, like talking at the crowd that, yeah, I'm gonna.
Put a spell on all of us.
So, yeah, so from Passion to Holiness is directly influenced by this song. That's a good example. That's what you were talking about.
Okay.
So I come a lot from soul music because it helped me to sing, and just realized that what happened later in rock was everything comes from that. It's just a different way to use the technique, but vocals in the end are not all the same, but they have a connection. Just you have to understand where it does come from, what kind of technique. So it's not a question of genre, just as a question your way you're using your voice, because your voice, this technique can be used in every genre. There is no border on it. So this is why I just see it as a general things and just try to pick up what technique or what thing could fit to this passage, to this part. And then there was a part, okay, like I felt like I had to say something to the crowd, so it felt like a political discourse, like yeah, with it. So just using this kind of technique that is already using music in general. So and even in I'm also a big hip hop listener as well. In hip hop, they're using this kind of way of cutting songs.
You
So
you say hip hop. Actually, was it last month? I went to my first rap show ever.
really,
Yeah,
oh,
I saw Jizza of Wu-Tang Clan play all of his second solo album, Liquid Swords, in Los at 1720, the last venue. He was
yeah,
outstanding. It was a great, great experience. My friends took me, and they said he was like as good as they ever seen him. And he played. He
nice.
was on stage for like 70 minutes, which I'm told for rap like artists, they don't play that long. He was wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so because yeah, this is an experience, and these are really musicians in the end. They're revolutions, that kind of stuff. So Tankland
Oh,
is a
oh,
super classic in that way. So
yeah,
yeah,
especially the way he sang, the way he rapped, and how he flowed. And 20 something, 28 years since that album came out, and he
mm,
sounded like my first reference of a rap show. But from what everyone told
yeah,
me and what I can feel, it was amazing. It was a great experience for sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for me, like one of my greatest influences hip hop are still MC Guru. So from Gangstar. So I'm listening to it to the beginning, and biggest master is Busta Rhymes. I always love Busta Rhymes. I here at home I have the first four album on vinyl, the original. I mean, so yeah,
That's a
I'm pretty nerdy
Yeah,
to it.
prime early Buster Rhymes, like how fast he was. I love hearing just how his like dialect and just how it
Yeah.
flowed so quickly, but you can hear every word.
Yeah, this is absolutely perfect. This is something I really loved, and I guess that in extreme metal we took that example for me. One of my first favorite death metal singer was George Fisher, because when I listened for the first time, I remember 1996 when Vile was out. I was like,
Mhm.
"What the hell is that? This is fast hip hop in death metal." So everything I loved mixed in the same thing. So,
That's cool. That's awesome.
so
I'm glad to hear because it's so interesting that with the kind of death metal and music you guys play, sometimes vocals, the vocalist can is kind of have to take a back seat, but you're able to incorporate and stay a part of all the music, the melodies, the intricacies, the complexities with the different types of approaches you do vocally. I think it's a big advantage.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just a point. Just to be not to like think that's okay. The run genre has to fit just one kind of vocal, one thing. Anything can fit, but it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah, you have to pick and
Because yeah,
choose what works. Yeah.
this is what it and actually there are so many parts. Sometimes I remember when I listen to it, I go, oh, remember we were making that experimentation of this part. It was like, okay, that would be genius to put this kind of vocals. You have to try it. And then I tried, we said, oh, that's a good idea. Then the next day, listen to it, oh, that's weird. 2 days after, that sucks. Okay, let's get back to what works for real.
Yeah.
So sometimes I know people tell me, why are you not changing that much? And why did you still putting this vocal? It's just say that we have been trying different things and it actually didn't work. So time to time the music is leading the thing and you just have to not to waste it completely. You just have to highlight it. And in extreme metal, the vocals are not the leading thing to me. Like this is the music and this is the guitar who makes the thing. And then when the voice is changing the overall music too much, I think that's not good. It has to be a whole thing that stick all together. But yeah, this is just a point of view.
No, no, I agree. I think that's well said. One of my last questions, and thank you for your time. So the band is going to be touring in about a month and a half. Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong. This is the first full U.S. tour Gorod is headlining, correct?
No, we've been headlining in 2013.
Oh,
So it was
wow, that long?
for the album Perfect Absolution, and it was like almost 5 weeks tour. It was bloodletting America. actually. So a unique leader tour. We were touring with Veil of Nap as well. And there was also Kamikaze and Inanimate Existence on this
I've
tour.
oh they're from I think they're from the San Francisco area. I've seen them play a few festivals down here. Really good band.
Yeah. And yeah, when we've been playing in San Francisco for real this time. It was not in Oakland. It was a club named Neck of the Woods. But yeah, I've just been told that it was just before the end of the beginning of the real gentrification. It was actually happening in San Francisco, and then it became a pretty boring city for us, and everyone's playing there. But yeah, we've been playing in Neck of the Wood in San Francisco. That was the first show of that tour, actually.
Oh,
And
nice.
we also played in the like, yeah. That's a crazy good memory because it was my very first time in the United States of America as well. And was starting to play San Francisco. Yeah, that was something. And the show was packed. And there was also Fallujah was playing with us on the
Yeah.
show. They were joining us and Kennedy Vale as well. But I guess that was the day after. So yeah, no, that was a very good, very nice beginning as a tour. So
That was before the Flesh Prevails for Fallujah to come out, and that's when they started that real the incredible amount of melody and harmony in their music. Interesting, you got to play with them during their more technical,
yeah,
like more
yeah,
straightforward death metal days.
that's it. And that was so. So that was our first actual tours at Blind.
Sure.
Yes.
And the one thing I have to ask because it's been coming up in the past couple months about bands touring, cost and inflation, and venues taking more out of merch than they should, and just it sounds even for big bands like Devin Townsend and Dino of Fear Factory have commented how hard it has been to tour. Um,
Mm.
what does the band have figured out, or what is the band keeping in mind when you're on this tour to make sure that it's a as good of a profitable, stress-free experience? Like, does that weigh on the band at all? Sometimes have the either pre-sales for this tour so far been good so far? Been good. Um, what are the challenges for this tour coming up, if any? And I'm just kind of getting your perspective on what people have been talking about and the band going on their first full tour in at least 3 years. Um,
Mm.
just your perspective about how the talks about touring and how difficult it's been even for big bands.
That's the perspective is like it's always unexpected. You never know. And the thing is that you have also to be really connected with the bookers and the promoters to be sure that there is enough pre-sales and stuff like that. And the turnout is like for most of the promoters I know that some of this is more and more unpredictable. It has always been unpredictable, but now that I don't know if really the game changed that much, but sure, there are some shows that are packed as hell still, and some headliners that will always work and that actually work even better than previously. But now for smaller underground acts, it seems like much more complicated. And also, as I mentioned before, there's policies of merge cuts for the bands and stuff like that make it even less profitable. That's just stupid because this is the only thing you can make. Sometimes you just can reimburse your fees and not making profit at all. So if you're then it gets out to be a big loss. So there, actually, we never feel comfortable before starting it. So like, we really hope that we people know how to make it work. Did we make any promotion enough? Did we working with enough PR with for the show or promoting? So this is super tricky to say like, but the perspective is more or less like, okay, wait and see. But what to do exactly? Well, what can we do about it? And that's that's a job. That's a different job. And yeah, when you're just a musician, that's super hard to handle it as well. Except if you are already like super knowledgeable about this part of the business. I'm personally not at all. This is really none of my business personally, but this is needful. And
Oh, I
then
will say
it's
I will say, well, last night I went to the Rotting Christ show in San Diego with Karachi
yeah,
and it was basically a sold out show. And the shows that there's been a lot of shows coming up this year they've announced, and a lot of shows last year. And I'll say, except for a couple that maybe a couple I've been through, even the smaller ish bands you would say not small, but maybe they're not Cannibal Corpse or Morbid
yeah,
Angel. The shows have been doing really well here.
yeah,
They've been doing really well. I'll say even for Defeated Sanity from Germany played like last
yeah.
month and packed the venue, both venues that I went to. So I'm hoping that the need for live music that we was gone for so long. I'm hoping that that is still staying with the amount of shows they've announced, and I hope that trickles down to all the bands. You know, I'm hopeful.
We are hopeful too, because yeah, this is just what we have to do otherwise. Yeah.
And
Just,
my last question,
yeah,
making
yeah, because I have to. I got another one. At oops, it's already 5 minutes afterwards. Ah,
okay, do you
the
need to
time
go?
schedule is like super tricky. Yeah, this is
Okay.
time schedule.
Okay, no, if you need to do something, no, that's fine. No, that's cool. I was just gonna ask really quick about like the kind of the set list itself. Is it gonna be a lot from the new album, a couple songs, and
Yeah,
just a little
we're
bit of
gonna
everything?
we're gonna play. So the set list is like 13 songs, so
Yes,
that's a brutal
yes,
one. And we play 5 songs from the new album and all the rest with all of the albums, like everything. We make a
that's
mixture of all the things. So
that's a great amount of time. That's something to really look forward to. I will be at the LA show on the April 3rd, so I
perfect,
only live 20 some minutes from LA. So yeah,
perfecto.
I'll definitely be there. I can't wait. So yeah, Julian, thank you for your time. Give
You're
the band
welcome.
the rest of your band my regards. It's great to see you all. We can't wait for the new record to be released, and we'll see you in about 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. April the 3rd. See you
Cool.
in
You
LA.
take care. Thank you so much.
Take care. Ciao, ciao. Thanks a lot for everything.
Of course.